Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters walking the road of life, in an age where distractions reign, where pleasure is one tap away, and where gratification has lost its depth, we find ourselves weary, hollow, and craving more of what never satisfies. We scroll, we binge, we consume, and yet we remain unsatisfied. Why? Because we have misunderstood joy. We have mistaken stimulation for purpose, excitement for meaning. In our modern world, we are constantly surrounded by a flood of stimulation. Every notification, every video, every scroll through social media offers us a quick dose of dopamine, the brain chemical associated with pleasure and reward. But what many fail to realize is that this overstimulation is slowly starving our souls. The very things we indulge in for comfort and escape end up making us more anxious, more distracted, and more disconnected from our true selves. Like a man stranded at sea drinking salt water to quench his thirst, we consume more of what leaves us empty. The more we chase quick pleasure, the less satisfied we become. C.S. Lewis once wrote, "It would seem that our Lord finds our desires not too strong, but too weak." He was pointing out that the soul was not made for endless distraction, but for deep joy, a joy that is rooted in eternal things. When we surround ourselves with constant stimulation, we blunt our ability to experience that deeper joy. We lose our sensitivity to beauty, silence, and truth. Our minds become restless, unable to focus, always looking for the next hit, the next thrill, the next distraction. This constant barrage of dopamine from shallow sources trains our brains to expect instant gratification and avoid anything that requires patience or stillness. And in that process, we stop growing. Overstimulation is not just about what we do, it's about what we're missing. When we fill every quiet moment with noise, we never hear the deeper call within. We never wrestle with our thoughts, never listen to our inner conscience, and never seek the voice of God. We live at the surface, never daring to dive beneath. And as a result, our inner lives atrophy, our souls starve. We become busy but not fulfilled, connected but not intimate, entertained but not transformed. The worst part is that we've accepted this as normal. We've accepted shallowness as satisfaction. We've made peace with spiritual malnutrition, but it doesn't have to stay this way. Recognizing the damage of overstimulation is the first step toward reclaiming our lives. We must learn to be still again. We must learn to say no, not just to bad things, but to excessive good things that have become distractions. We must give ourselves room to breathe, to think, to feel, and to be present. Detoxing from this lifestyle is not easy. It feels uncomfortable, even painful at first. But it is the pain of healing, not the pain of harm. It is the ache of a soul coming back to life. When we cut off the constant stimulation, we start to feel again. We start to think clearly. We begin to notice beauty, to appreciate silence, to long for meaning rather than momentary excitement. The heart awakens, the spirit breathes, and joy, real, lasting joy, begins to return. Choosing to disconnect from instant gratification can feel like going against the grain of everything modern life teaches us. We live in a world designed to keep us constantly stimulated, always seeking the next quick fix, whether it's a like on a post, a bite of sugary food, or a quick video that gives us a laugh. We're wired to pursue comfort and ease, and we're told that happiness is found in endless convenience. But the truth is, the more we chase instant pleasure, the more we become enslaved to it. We stop being in control of our minds and start reacting to whatever external trigger is in front of us. That is not freedom. It's addiction wearing a mask. Dopamine detox is not about becoming a monk or escaping the world. It's about regaining control over your internal environment. It's about stepping away from the constant rush of stimulation long enough to let your nervous system reset and your brain heal. When you choose to pause, to not give in to the impulse to check your phone, binge a show, or snack mindlessly, You are declaring that your mind is your own. You are saying, I am not a slave to every desire. And in that decision lies incredible freedom. C.S. Lewis often reminded us that real transformation begins with the will. He didn't believe in shallow change. He believed that true freedom was moral and spiritual, freedom from the tyranny of our lower desires and from being ruled by our flesh. When you engage in a dopamine detox, you are living out this belief. You are resisting the shallow and choosing the meaningful. You are breaking the chains of passivity and choosing discipline. What makes the detox so powerful is that it opens the door to real joy. When you take a break from mindless stimulation, your brain begins to recalibrate. Activities that once felt boring, like reading, walking, or having a quiet conversation, suddenly begin to feel meaningful again. You begin to enjoy the slower pace of life. You begin to see beauty in simplicity. You notice how deeply refreshing it is to engage in one task at a time, with full presence. You stop numbing yourself and start actually living. The early days of detox are often uncomfortable because your brain is used to the constant flood of dopamine. You might feel restless or anxious. You might want to give up. But if you stay with it, if you press through that discomfort, you'll emerge stronger, clearer, and freer. You'll begin to enjoy your own thoughts again. You'll have more energy, more focus, and more peace. In choosing to detox, you are not giving something up. You are getting something back. You're reclaiming your mind, your time, and your soul. You are saying yes to a better life, a deeper joy, and a stronger spirit. That is the kind of freedom that no technology, no shortcut, and no distraction can ever offer. True joy is not something that explodes in the moment. It is something that grows slowly, like a tree rooted in deep soil. In today's world, we have confused excitement with happiness. We mistake stimulation for fulfillment. But if we look closely, we will see that the things that bring us the most satisfaction are not the ones that give us a fast dopamine spike, but the ones that require time, stillness, and presence. C.S. Lewis understood this difference. He often wrote about the longing for something greater, something eternal, what he called joy, a spiritual hunger that no earthly pleasure can fully satisfy. He described it as a homesickness for a place we've never been but somehow know exists. That kind of joy is not accessed through noise or haste. It is found in stillness, in quiet moments, in the space between distractions. When we constantly flood our minds with stimulation, be it digital noise, entertainment, or even constant conversations, we lose our capacity to feel this deeper joy. Our minds become cluttered, always craving the next burst of pleasure, never content to sit in silence or simply be asterisk. And yet, it is in those quiet, seemingly boring moments where our soul begins to whisper. The joy Lewis spoke of cannot be forced or manufactured. It arrives in moments of reflection, in deep connection, in awe of the simple things, sunlight on a leaf, the turning of a page, a sincere word spoken in love. But these moments only come to those who wait, to those who have made space for them. Patience is not just a virtue. It is a doorway. Joy requires delay. It cannot be microwaved or downloaded. It grows in the soil of delayed gratification. That is why a dopamine detox is so important. It teaches your brain to wait again, to be still again, to want less and receive more. It creates a mental environment where joy can actually be felt rather than chased. It is not a punishment, it is preparation. Like fasting before a feast, it heightens our sensitivity to the good things we used to overlook. Our culture celebrates speed, convenience, and multitasking. But true joy hides in slowness, in focus, in full presence. When you are fully present in a conversation, when you are absorbed in a book, or when you lose track of time walking in nature, that is when joy quietly steps in. And the more you detox from quick fixes, the more often these moments come. Your heart begins to open, your mind becomes more aware, You stop searching and start seeing. C.S. Lewis would remind us that we are made for more than momentary pleasures. We are made for eternal joy. And the path to that joy is paved with stillness, silence, and sacred waiting. If you want to feel again, to live again, then embrace the slowness. Let joy surprise you in the silence. Rewiring the brain through purposeful habits is not just a concept. It's a daily practice, a journey of intentional living. In a world driven by instant gratification, our habits often become reactive, not reflective. We scroll because we're bored, eat because we're stressed, binge, watch because we're avoiding something deeper. Over time, these repeated behaviors form neural pathways in the brain, making these impulsive choices our default. But the beauty of the brain is that it's flexible. It can change. This process is called neuroplasticity, and it means that the habits you choose today can reshape how you think, feel, and live tomorrow. When you begin a dopamine detox, you create space to reintroduce habits that build rather than drain your energy. Simple, meaningful routines, like walking without your phone, reading a physical book, journaling your thoughts, or sitting quietly in prayer, may not feel exciting at first. That's because your brain has been trained to expect constant stimulation. But as you commit to these habits, your brain slowly adjusts. You begin to crave stillness. You begin to look forward to quiet. You realize that joy is not in the rush, but in the rhythm. C.S. Lewis knew the power of routine, contemplation, and solitude. His deep thinking, vivid imagination, and rich spiritual insight were born out of purposeful habits. He didn't wait for inspiration. He created space for it. Likewise, when we cultivate habits that point us toward truth, beauty, and virtue, we begin to feel alive again, our minds clear, our spirits lift. Our capacity for focus and gratitude grows. Journaling, for instance, allows you to reflect on your thoughts instead of reacting to them. It slows the racing mind and helps you notice patterns that are stealing your peace. Walking in nature engages your senses and connects you with the present moment, grounding your awareness in the now. Reading expands your inner world, strengthening imagination and empathy, things that fast content often erodes. Prayer and silence offer you the space to hear the voice of God or your deeper conscience, something drowned out by endless noise. The key is not to do 100 things, but to repeat a few life-giving habits consistently. Over time, these acts rewire your brain to prefer substance over stimulation. They become your new normal. Your brain no longer craves the superficial dopamine hits. It starts to find satisfaction in meaningful engagement. This is how change becomes sustainable, not through willpower alone, but through structure, through rhythm, through grace-filled repetition. Ultimately, your habits shape your life. Every choice you make is either feeding the noise or nurturing the silence. Rewiring the brain isn't about perfection. It's about persistence. One small, intentional act each day is enough to begin the transformation. As Lewis might put it, even the smallest seed, when planted in good soil, can grow into something eternal. Let your daily habits become that soil. Let them lead you back to who you were always meant to be. Your inner life must become stronger than the outer noise if you ever hope to live with clarity, purpose, and peace. In today's world, we are constantly bombarded by external stimuli, notifications, opinions, news, entertainment, and pressure to perform. Our attention is pulled in every direction, and without realizing it, we become reactive, always responding to the outside world rather than listening to the quiet truth within. This leaves us anxious, fragmented, and uncertain of who we really are. The only way to find true direction in such chaos is to strengthen the inner life, the part of you that thinks deeply, believes firmly, and listens quietly. C.S. Lewis wrote with a clarity and depth that could only come from a life anchored in contemplation. He once said, "We live, in fact, in a world starved for solitude, silence, and private." He understood that real strength is internal, not external. When your inner life, your values, convictions, prayers, and thoughts is stronger than the noise around you, you begin to move with purpose. You stop reacting, and you start choosing. You no longer chase validation from others. Instead, you operate from the security of knowing who you are and what you're called to do. But this kind of strength doesn't happen by accident. It is built. It is cultivated through habits of stillness and reflection. When you step away from distractions, when you silence your phone, turn off the screen, and create space for solitude, you allow your inner voice to rise. And often that voice is not loud. It is a whisper, but it speaks truth, and it speaks with weight. In that silence, you may feel discomfort at first. You may face parts of yourself you've ignored, but in that facing, healing begins. The inner life grows when you begin to prioritize truth over trends, meaning over popularity, and depth over speed. It is strengthened every time you choose discipline over distraction, prayer over panic, and silence over noise. This shift doesn't mean you stop engaging with the world. Rather, it means you engage from a place of strength. You no longer let the world define your worth, because your worth is grounded in something eternal. The most powerful people are not the loudest. They are the most grounded. They are not swayed by every opinion because they have anchored themselves in timeless truths. And this strength, this rootedness, is what allows them to lead, love, and live well. Dopamine detox is not just about removing distractions. It's about building inner resilience. It's about creating space for your soul to breathe, for your mind to think, and for your heart to feel. When your inner life becomes stronger than the outer noise, you become unshakable. You no longer live at the mercy of the world's chaos. Instead, you live from a quiet center, guided by wisdom, grounded in peace, and inspired by purpose. This is where transformation begins, not in the world around you, but in the world within you.